Well, hello, kitties. Are you looking for a frightfully spooky podcast? The crew from Hill City Paranormal has a treat for you then. Listen to calls from our haunted hotline, interviews, and behind-the-scenes commentary from our investigations, and even some fictional stories that are guaranteed to send chills up your spine. Subscribe to Hill City Paranormal wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you've been warned.
Hello everyone. It's been a while since we released a new episode of this podcast, and I feel like you deserve an update. First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who has listened and spread the word about this podcast. And by doing so, you are helping to keep these cases alive. It means more than you know that we receive emails and phone calls with people sharing tips and leads every day. So again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for listening. And now, the updates. The last episode of Season 1 was done late last year, and that was right before a big studio move for us. We had no idea at the time the response that we would get from the podcast, so I apologize for not planning better for Season 2. We moved locations, and with that, all of our gear, time, and energy went into our day job of producing commercials and marketing. And to be honest, this podcast drifted to the back burner. It has also taken much longer than expected to renovate our new space, which has caused another delay in producing content. So we finally have our new podcasting studio set up, and I shouldn't have let that stop me. However, my goal for Season 2 is to make it better. And while I don't read too many reviews, I have seen some, and critics will be critics no matter what. However, my goal for this podcast was never to hit it big, be noticed, or anything like that. It was to just get this story out there and be heard. My wife and I on the road, asking people questions, and just trying to help. Also, when we started the Route 29 Stalker podcast, we honestly had no idea where it was going to go, or for how long, or if anyone would even listen. To our surprise, after a few months, it found an audience, and kept growing ever since. This was after we had done most of our episodes, though. What I noticed was the longer it's out there, and the bigger the audience grows, the more people email me and call with information. And in the beginning, I would find out information, and then right away do an episode, no matter the episode length or time. Which I know goes against most of the other podcast formats out there. However, I just couldn't wait to share it. So with Season 2, I want to spend more time on each episode, and as a result, get you more information to pass around and more to chew on. And lastly, this is a very personal update, one that I've debated on sharing for quite some time. But back when the last episode of Season 1 was released, I began to feel really sick all the time. Then shortly after that, a lump was found. I finally went to the doctor, and that day honestly changed my life. It put into perspective more things than I can even put in this podcast. That day was spent being tested and poked and blood drawn and heavy medicine given and then waiting and waiting. And during that waiting period, my wife and I basically put our future plans on hold. That was the main reason for even moving from our old studio space. We honestly didn't know what the future would bring. So we decided to pack up everything, just in case, and pray. And being self-employed, I think other self-employed business owners out there will know what I mean. And we decided to just enjoy our time together. Well, that was in November. Finally in March, I was all cleared. And we started making plans again and renovating our new space. And prayers were answered. And with a renewed energy, I might add. So with all that being said, I ask that you remember we're only human. A lot of the podcasts you listen to out there are done by people who are just trying to help. We don't have big budgets. We don't have producers. We just have the motivation to keep these cases alive. And after receiving quite a few interesting phone calls lately, I'm more motivated now than ever.
I was just leaving a message prior about the Route 29 Stalker. I wholeheartedly believe that he has something, he's related somehow to Virginia Tech.
Hey, I was just listening to your podcast, and it's very intriguing. I'm glad you brought Alicia Showalter Reynolds to light. This case, I think, should be solved. I went to high school with her. I think the Virginia State Police haven't been very transparent to people who I think can help solve the crime. I believe, as you know, there is a last seen photo of her with a man, the suspect in the the Nissan Pathfinder or Nissan truck with the teal logo. I believe that man is Mikhail Nicolau, who matches the identity and was known as a serial killer and known to own a pornographic shop in Charlottesville at the time. And in addition to that, actually worked as an informant for the police, which may have been compromising the investigation into him as well at the time.
From D.C. And I lived in Lexington, Virginia in the early 2000s. In your podcast, I've listened to the first 6 episodes. It jogged a memory that I had from April of 2003. I actually sent you a message over your website about this incident. I was a college student. I was driving north on I-81. I wasn't familiar with the area east of where I was going to school. I was in Lexington. I took I-81 to get home. I lived in Maryland. My parents lived in Maryland. So it was spring break in April of 2003. I was driving north on I-81. It was a nice day. I was driving a 11-year-old Grand Am that was not very reliable at the time. And the car used to make me nervous. I'd get it checked by a mechanic every time I went home. But it drank oil. There was some kind of thing wrong with it. It still worked though. Every time I go home I get it checked out. They say it's safe, but it made me nervous. So I was driving home one day and a 18-wheeler pulled up next to me and started gesturing at the undercarriage of my car, or underneath my car, in an alarmed way. I started panicking because I thought there was something wrong with the car immediately. So I pulled over onto the side of 81 North, just north of Harrisonburg. I saw the truck driver slow down, but he was in an 18-wheeler. Those things take a really long time to slow down, as you know. My little Grand Am stopped almost instantly on the side of 81. I didn't unlock the doors. I didn't get out of the car. I called my mother on my cell phone and I told her what was happening. And I said, what should I do? I'm scared the car, is there something wrong with the car? And she screamed at me. She didn't even say hello. She screamed at me and she said, drive, fast, drive. I was nervous at her reaction. I could see the truck driver far down get out of his truck and start walking towards me. So I listened. I hit the accelerator and I sped off of 81. And as I passed him, in the truck, he threw his hands up and looked kind of alarmed and just threw his hands up. I didn't stare for very long. And then I just drove off. I know the person had light skin, but he was so far away I couldn't see any defining features. I just wanted to share that story with you. I never reported it to police. I wasn't sure that I should. But just hearing that story now and knowing what was going on in that area, it just made me wonder.
For more information about this podcast and what we've found regarding the Route 29 Stalker, visit route29stalker.com, route29stalker.com. As we investigate this, we will be releasing all the information we gather on this website. We also have discussion boards. Thanks for listening. Meet us back here for the next episode.